There once was a little duckling who hatched in the most beautiful place in the whole wide world, surrounded by weeping willows whose branches dripped with glowing fireflies. This was the firefly pond. But when Dibble hatched, his feathers were fluffier and messier than all the rest, and instead of shining yellow, they looked, well, sort of dull. The other ducklings laughed at him. "Look at Feather F Flop," they said. "Go ahead, Feather F Flop, try to look as pretty as us." And even the frogs lounging on lily pads joined in. "You may have messy feathers, but you're the kindest little duck I know." And for the first time, Dibble didn't mind that his feathers weren't shiny and pretty. "Ribbit! Ribbit! Feather Flop indeed!" they croaked. She whispered, fanning herself with a leaf. When Dibble looked closely, he noticed her reflection wasn't showing her 8 beady eyes or hairy legs. "Your heart is bigger than your bill, Dibble, and that's what makes you truly beautiful." Before Dibble could say a word, the other animals rushed away, disappearing into the forest. Suddenly, Dibble felt very alone. Finally, he reached the magical land of his dreams. The fireflies glowed silver and blue, and as promised, the swans were there, twirling and dipping in the moonlight. The animals cheered, knowing he wasn't boasting, because only a kind heart could turn a duckling's messy feathers into a bird that glowed with the moon's soft light. From that day on, Dibble swam with the swans every night, returning to the firefly pond each morning to teach the other ducklings that being beautiful wasn't about having pretty feathers or a perfect reflection, but about who you chose to be. At last, Dibble cried, feeling more himself than he ever had before. He joined the swans in their silvery dance beneath the moonlit clouds. As much as he loved helping the other animals, he wished he had someone to tell his good news to. They looked out over the pond and saw Dibble paddling happily toward them, and as he drew closer, they gasped. Dibble's feathers shone with a beautiful glow, sparkling with silver and blue. "Look," Lily whispered. "He looks like a moon duck, the legendary bird that appears only when the moon is full." The other ducklings nodded, their mouths hanging open. Soon, all the animals from the forest gathered around the pond. They had heard tales of the moon duck, a bird whose feathers reflected the moon, and who had a heart of purest gold. He paddled back to his pond, hoping his siblings would be awake, but they were fast asleep, snoring softly. So Dibble swam out to his favorite willow tree and climbed into its branches, curling up to sleep. No, she was a spider, and her reflection showed just that. A hard-working, caring spider who always wove webs to catch dinner for her children. And as Dibble slept, his messy feathers seemed to lift and drift upwards, turning his messy head into something smooth and oval. His dull feathers became soft and cool, sparkling with silver and blue. Startled, Dibble poked his head. His bill, his webbed feet, his whole body, everything was different. And then he spread his wings. They weren't webbed like a duck's wings. They were long and pointed like a swan's. And as he flapped them, he knew what they were meant for flying to that magical land beyond the clouds, where friendly swans would twirl and dip, dipping and twirling. They danced in a silvery light, and the music was sweeter than honeydew. The other animals cheered, realizing that the pond of reflections didn't show your worst qualities, but your best ones, too. And soon, everyone was rushing to give thanks to Dibble. "How can we ever thank you for helping us see ourselves the way we want to be seen?" the mouse squeaked. But tonight, instead of dancing with the swans, he wandered through the tall grasses, where a single glowing feather caught his eye. But why? Then he heard a tiny sob and saw a little mouse staring at a reflection with huge, scary teeth. "What's wrong?" asked Dibble. "I thought I was brave and adventurous," squeaked the mouse, "but I'm just a tiny, timid creature with big, chompy teeth." Just then, the beetle flew past. "I'm not an explorer," he grumbled. I'm just a beetle with one giant emerald eye." Seeing how upset everyone was about their reflections, Dibble knew he had to do something. So he climbed onto a nearby rock and sang a song about accepting yourself for who you are, not what you look like. The song was sweet and hopeful, and soon all the animals were gathered around the rock, listening to Dibble and looking at each other, not with fear, but with newfound understanding. Maybe size didn't matter. Maybe a little mouse could be brave, a goofy frog could be a handsome prince, and an ordinary beetle could be an amazing explorer. After all, everyone had something special inside of them. He followed it deeper and deeper into the woods, until he came to a small clearing. In the center sat a pond just like his own, except this one shimmered with all colors of the rainbow, and all around the pond, strange creatures stared back at themselves. A beetle saw a giant emerald eye staring back at him. A spider saw a face with 8 beady eyes. And a curious frog saw not a slimy green frog, but a handsome prince with flowing golden hair. "Mr. Toad told everyone about you helping him last night." She paused for dramatic effect. "And he also said you have the voice of an angel." Dibble blushed, though he wished his voice would help him make one other thing, like maybe a pair of wings. And the sight of those shimmering lights inspired the young ducklings to do nothing but preen and preen some more. Now, usually, a duckling's downy feathers have a perfectly lovely yellow glow. "Well, if it isn't Featherflop," Lily said, dabbing water out of her eyes. "You ruined my reflection. You silly goose." He used his beak to push Mr. Toad's lily pad back onto the bank. Now, usually when someone helped another animal, the other would say, "Thank you." But Mr. Toad just grumbled, "Humph, too much flapping. I'll never get dry now." Feeling discouraged, Dibble turned to go. But then Mr. Toad asked, "Say, you wouldn't happen to know where I could find a nice sunny spot to dry off, would you?" And that was when Dibble noticed how soggy and miserable Mr. Toad really was. So he led Mr. Toad to a patch of warm pebbles near his favorite moonlit clearing. Then, seeing that Mr. Toad still looked rather glum, Dibble started singing a song he often hummed to himself when he was sad. It was a song about 2 little fireflies who fell in love, and its tune reminded him of those magical nights dancing with the swans under the clouds. "I was admiring how shiny and beautiful I am, but now look at me. I'm all wet." She glared at Dibble, who felt a pang of sympathy. Though Lily was undeniably lovely, she spent all her time admiring herself. If anyone had a right to feel bad, it was poor old Mr. Toad. After Lily had splashed him, he tried to hop back onto his lily pad, but it tipped into the water. But every night after the others had gone to sleep, Dibble would sneak out of the reeds and paddle across the pond. He would gaze up at the moon, dreaming of a magical land beyond the clouds where fireflies glowed silver and blue. Their friendly swans would twirl and dipping and twirling. They danced in a silvery light, and the music was sweeter than honey. Oh, to dance with the swans beneath the moonlit clouds, Dibble sighed, paddling home before the sun peeked over the tall trees. For a while, Dibble kept his nightly escapades a secret, hiding from his siblings, until one night when he was daydreaming about his moonlit adventures, he accidentally splashed Lily, the prettiest duckling of them all. "Don't just stand there, Dibble," Lily snapped. "Do something." And so Dibble did the only thing he could think of. As Dibble sang, Mr. Toad perked up, and when the song ended, he said, "Thank you, Dibble." The next morning, the other ducklings gathered around Lily, who was preening her feathers. Did you hear? That night, as the other ducklings slept, Dibble paddled to his secret clearing. Dibble took a closer look, and realized he was standing at the Pond of Reflections, a magical place where creatures could see their true selves. Then the spider crawled up the rock and said, "I don't want to be a spooky monster, but how can I help?" Then the frog cleared his throat. "We might not look like princes all the time," he said, "but we know when we see a true hero." And that's when everything changed. The moonlight streamed through the leaves and made them shimmer with all colors of the rainbow. Dibble took off, soaring higher and higher above the firefly pond, above the tall trees, above the mountains and clouds. The next morning the other ducklings were in for a surprise. Dibble swam to the edge of the pond and said, "Thank you. I never wanted to be the prettiest duck. I just wanted to be me."